So this thing was branded as a community mixer. So I just walked in there and they kind of mumbled things about me about registering somewhere up ahead or something. So I just walked in. So what do they actually look like in there? There we go. Not much. But there's a lot of big shots in there. For sure there's a lot of big shots in there. Yeah. Nobody's looking at big shotty now, but earlier there definitely were. I don't know where the hell they were, but there are definitely big shots. And it is definitely big shots. And they're big shots from SFU. Hence the sign SFU. This is they throw this thing hoping that some students will come and they never do, and it's kind of a big, ridiculous, expensive thing. I think that I kind of weird people out once in a while because I can seem kind of like a well-educated person for like a couple minutes. And then they just ask me about, you know, what I'm doing. There's something that people of status give off that I don't. That's what it is. Not that I want to do that anyway. To thine own self be true. To thine own self be true. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's pretty good, I guess. It's not the best. It's not the best advice I ever got. There's holes in it. What if yourself is not a great person? You wouldn't want to be true to that person, would you? But what I think that you could say Christians think is that there's good in everyone, even in the very worst. That's what Christians think. There's good in everyone. And yeah, okay, I know what it reminded me of. I came across an idea. This is pre-Christian. I think this is Greek. You're only free to do the right thing. That's a really interesting way to look at life, I think. You're only free to do the right thing. Because if you do the wrong thing, then you're a slave to destructive emotions, and like you're giving into something base in yourself if you do something wrong. And you know, you can do that if you eat too much. You do that. You could do it all kinds of ways. You know, all kinds of, from the best to the worst, right? And then once you do it, then you'll never be free of the guilt. So, if you want to be free, you have to be a good person. I think that is really an interesting way to look at life. Came across that in The History of Philosophy, I believe it's called. It's written in 1923. I wouldn't hesitate for a second to say that it's my favorite book. It's the book that I would recommend to almost anyone that was willing to put up with some pretty dense material. It's history and philosophy, but presented in a way that's intended to appeal to the lay audience of 1923, which should be a lot more educated than we are now. Like his books were sort of set the tone philosophically. What is that guy's name? Yeah, I've forgotten that guy's name. That's one of the books I left. I'd like to get that one back. But it's kind of interesting because I read it I started reading again about a year ago. And I came across all these passages that had been marked out in blue, right? And I guess I thought that maybe I'd glance at it or something, right? Yeah, but when I read it the second time, I felt, okay, now I finally understand things. Now I understand Western civilization. If you want to put in the work to understand that. Like, I really wonder how many of the constant critics have done it, have read the ancient philosophers that laid the bedrock for Western civilization. Have they read that? Have they done that? I doubt it. And so would anybody else doubt it? I mean, yeah, I mean, I was watching the committee hearings, and Cooper, that guy, he said to Angelique Jolie, or whatever her name is, whatever. She's a nice lady. I like her. But she's working for that party, so I don't like her. But I like her. And what is her name? Jolie. Anyway, she's saying that she was there and she was looking right into the Chinese diplomat's eyes and being really serious like that. And he says, oh, I'm sure he was really intimidated. So he was sarcastic for a minute, right? And whatever her name is, she's not the type that's going to be, twaddle insulted by somebody like that over some trifling things like that. Just a sarcastic comment. It was so far beneath her to say that injured her, right? And she's just like, whatever. Really classy response, right? Because he hadn't done anything. All he had done has been sarcastic. She was saying that she looked into that guy's eyes and he was intimidated, and she really had him, worried. Have you looked at the guy that they're talking about? That guy doesn't get intimidated. I forget his name, but the Chinese guy, he's the big honcho in Canada. I think he's in Vancouver. No, that guy is a robot. Super, super intelligent and just demands respect every instant, or you're really in a bad time. I remember one time I saw him talk down. A woman asked him a question and he responded by saying that he was really so repulsed that some young woman could be so indolent as to ask him a question like that, right? And really got on her case, really put her down, right? And so there was the sort of the natural thing, like, why didn't somebody bark back at him? I would have barked back at that guy. I would have barked back at him. No way I would take that. Because we just got, we allowed him to abuse one of our women. I'll call her that, right? One of our women, whoever she was. Oh, yeah. The Jolie lady, right? She's cool. Okay, so what they're trying to do is get Katie Telford in to testify, and they're just filibustering. Just nonsense, points of order, all this stuff. And then a little while later, there's this woman who had to speak up and talk about, how badly women are treated in Parliament. And she's making a big deal out of it. It's like wasting time, right? Just wasting time. And then there was another one that did it. And then there was a third one that did it. And this one took the cake, man. These people are absolutely just broken. So she says, when I first wanted to come into politics, they told me I wasn't tough enough. And she's not tough enough. They told her she wasn't tough enough. And I don't know that they said she wasn't tough enough because she was a female, or it's just because she wasn't tough enough. She's demonstrating, you'll understand by the story, she's demonstrating she's not tough enough. And so what had happened between the Cooper guy and the foreign minister or something, I think, the French lady. She says they didn't say that was tough enough, but all that they had said was they had a tough talk. Cooper didn't say tough, I don't think. He just did one thing. They were talking about toughness, that's true, tough situations, be tough, all that, that's true. But what he did was he made a sarcastic comment about, you're not trying to tell us you intimidated him, because you didn't. You couldn't intimidate him. Yeah. Okay, the thing is that the repercussion of back-talking to him could be really nasty, for sure. Or maybe it's just like nothing to them. But that was filmed, and people are wondering why didn't the guys stand up for it, right? And they didn't. And then later when they asked them, they said, well, why should we? Aren't we, isn't it, 2020 or whatever it is? So that's who she's talking about. And and so this woman says that, and it's just so injurious to me. Like she's really like she's clenching her fists. She's got thick forearms and like heavy looking fists, and they're clenching. And she's like really angry because it reminded her of what happened to her. It didn't happen to this lady. It didn't happen to this lady. And the lady that it did happen to just swatted it off like it was nothing. And so she's there later, right? And she's there later, and she's like reliving the trauma of her early years in the legislature when somebody said she wasn't tough enough. Just making it all about her. Like, that's what she did. You're gonna have to see it. She made the whole thing about her. And she was just sitting there looking stupid. No, that's all, mostly what she's gonna do. And then when she had a chance to talk, she threw a fit. And it shows up in the paper, and they go, okay, so he did this and he did that. And then these three women spoke up, and they said this and that. So now this is an issue. We have to talk about it. They're going to talk about it now in the paper. I mean, it was in the paper, right? Okay, yeah. We have to think about that. That woman so long ago, somebody said she wasn't tough enough, so we can understand why she'd have a fit at the first sarcastic comment, and a well-deserved one too, right? I mean, they better not start acting as if they boss Chinese around, because they won't be. They can't. Through legal measures, they're going to, but what we don't know is how China's going to respond. So we've been thrown into another amazing political situation, haven't we? Because they've allowed the Chinese Party to have, Chinese Communist Party to have massive influence on our election. They allowed it, and it's proven beyond a doubt. We know it for sure. There'll be quibbles here and there, and it'll just be proven. We'll find more evidence that it happened than evidence that it didn't happen. It's no doubt about it, because there's all these people leaking it. People are leaking it, and everybody's just believing it because they go, yeah, that's what they're like, aren't they? Like, they're that creepy. You have to believe that. You have to believe that they're the kind of creeps that would cooperate with the Chinese Communist Party to get elected. That is major. That is major creepiness. Sorry, I appear to have lost my vocabulary, but wow, that's bad. I don't know that people are just absorbing it. I think it takes a little while. Like, just to fully absorb it. They cooperated with China to win an election, and we know it. They threatened students. The Han Dong guy, he threatened students to go and vote for him in the nomination thing. You don't even have to be a citizen to nominate. Someone. So they pushed him to the front, and the way he did it was he told all these Chinese students he was going to revoke a tourist visa if they didn't go and nominate him. And so they did. And then they took another bunch of old people there, and they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Like, they didn't have opinion on Canadian politics. So they just emptied out the seniors' home and chucked them down there to vote as well. There was a legal campaign contribution. And when Trudeau was asked about it, he got all pissy and said, nobody tells him who I keep in my party. That's up to me. CSIS told you this stuff about him, and you kept him. And later you're pissy about it? Come on. Come on, man. He is so screwed. And we're going to have trouble with our Five Eyes network. What are they going to think about when they hear about this? What a bunch of idiots, right? What else could they think? And they did it right under our nose while they were claiming to be so devoted to it. Like, they opened up a bunch of departments of this, had a commission or whatever, 2 or 3 of them to look after this kind of stuff, right? And I think they set it up. There were 2 traditional ones, and then they set up new ones because they said it was so dangerous. And none of them caught it. Well, no, they did catch it. But the way that the law works, they don't tell the public unless it really affects the outcome. Like if one party lost before it, then, the way it's written, then they inform people, right? But if it's just of the nature that we've got, like they think 10 or 11, and it'll turn out to be more. It'll turn out to be a lot more. And the other thing that nobody's thought to talk about much is that if this amount of corruption happened almost above board, then how much happened under the table? That's when you'd really start getting into the meat of it. I would bet you. I bet you our politicians have been in bed with gangsters for a long time. I bet you they have. I'm just guessing.